to heal the world, face the storms, and she had to fight through, but she broke through. She made it, yes, she made it, and so can you. Believe in yourself, no matter what you go through. She made it, and so can you. Yes, she made it. Welcome to the Goldie Drake Show.
Welcome to the Goldie Drake Show, a space where real stories, real healing, and real empowerment come to life. My guest today has a very special story. His name is Brian Everton. Brian says he grew up in one of the worst towns in America. It was a challenge for him not to get involved in the environment, but guess what? He did, and he found his way out. Welcome, Brian Everton.
Hey, Goldie.
I'm fine. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you coming and wanting to share your stories with people because, as you know, the world we live in today is so much different than when we grew up. And I feel like the audience would resonate with your story. Those that have children that are growing up in this crazy world. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about your story?
Well, my name is Brian Everton, and I'm from Racine, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Born and raised Racine, Wisconsin. Now, if you Google Racine, Wisconsin right now today, it will come up as the worst place for blacks in America.
And how do you spell that?
Racine.
Okay, Racine.
Wisconsin. Racine, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Not Chicago, not LA with the gangs and all that. Little small Racine, Wisconsin is the worst place for blacks in the 50 states of America.
Wow.
And I look at my life now, where I'm at now, and what I've been through, and I'm a miracle. I'm a walking miracle.
So can you share with the audience a little about what you have been through and what the town was like? Like how many what was the population like?
Well, the population of Racine growing up for me, I remember this because when I would go to Mississippi, my father lived in Mississippi, my mother relocated to Racine. So when we would leave out of Racine going to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, I always remember seeing the population sign with 150,000 people in Racine.
Mhm.
So I would see that sign when I was leaving, and I would see it when I was coming back every summer when I would go spend 3 months with my father in Mississippi.
Okay.
And that stuck with me, and at that time, I thought 150,000 people, was a lot of people as a little boy.
Mhm.
But as I got older and Racine I felt like Racine was closing in on me. Like everybody knew everybody's business. You could throw a stone from the south side of the town and hit the north side of town.
Really?
Yeah. It was, and that goes to show you like how as you age, your perspective on life changes.
Absolutely.
Growing up, I thought Racine was a beautiful town. And at that time, it probably was because there was jobs available. I talked to my father now. He's 83. And he told me that everybody from the South came up to the North, Wisconsin, Detroit, Indiana for factory jobs. There were jobs available to them in the North. And he said the only jobs they had available to them was picking cotton.
Wow.
Can you imagine? I'm just a generation away that my father picked cotton to make a living.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, he said he came up to Racine because there was factory jobs available.
Mm.
Now, when I say factory jobs, they were the worst jobs in the factory.
Really?
Yeah, you worked in a foundry. So you worked around molten hot lava, and it was bad for your insides because you're inhaling all this stuff from the factory. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, but the money was so good to these folks that these were the risks that they took.
Right.
To come and raise families with these jobs, income that they had, and so Racine was for me. It was a good place. My grandmother, she worked at a place called Rainfield. They made raincoats.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah, they made raincoats,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was a lot of factory jobs in Racine, and I think those jobs helped families get by, and you could raise a decent family on a decent wage at that point in time. So I love Racine. I loved it because my grandmother was there, all my aunts. It was a really close family. My aunts, my uncles, all my cousins. I remember Friday nights we would all sit around and they cook popcorn, and we all of us, about 8, 9 of us little cousins, we'd be in the living room at grandma's house watching Friday night movies and stuff. So for me, I had so much fun. It was beautiful.
So your parents, they weren't together; they were separated.
Yes.
Okay, and so you grew up in a household with just your mom.
Now, my mom, but I had a stepfather.
Oh, okay, okay. And
Yeah.
was he good to you?
Oh, he, wonderful man.
Good. That's good.
I tell people all the time, I got so lucky. I had my real father, and I had a step. So I had two dads.
That's a blessing.
Oh my God. And I think that helped.
Absolutely. So, and how many siblings do you have?
Just one sister.
Older, or younger?
Older. She's 5 years older than me.
Okay, okay. And so, how was life? Did you play Skelly when you was a little kid?
Oh, we did everything. We did everything because my mama made me go outside. She was like, "Boy, you're not sitting around this house driving me crazy. Go outside." And so I grew up outside. We climbed trees. We played marbles. We played hide and seek. You know,
all the good games.
Yes, yeah. But it was the neighborhood. All us kids was outside. You go outside, there'd be about 20 kids outside.
Right.
You know, you'd be learning how to ride bikes, just all types of stuff. And it was just, to me, it was just wonderful to have like just a group of friends from the same neighborhood. We outside just enjoying ourselves.
Right. And so, as you started getting into your teenage years, because as we spoke, you said that you started getting into trouble. You come from a good family, and people that were doing positive things in their life, but you kind of fell into the environment, the negativity of the environment. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I tell people all the time, I don't know if anybody realizes this, but Black folks were redlined back in the 60s and 70s. So redlining is where they put up boundaries and borders to where Blacks could only rent in these areas. So in order for whites to be able to move out maybe to the suburbs, Blacks weren't allowed to go out to these areas and rent homes.
Really?
Yeah, it's called redlining. You can look it up. In Google, it's called redlining. And so I grew up in an area that was all Blacks, but you had working class Blacks like my family, professional Blacks, mixed in with, you know, up the street they were selling weed, you know, doing stuff up the block, like 3 blocks from my house. But my mother and them kept us on the straight and narrow. It's like, I don't care what's going on out there, that's not going on in my home.
Right.
I'm gonna hold you to a certain standard, and you're gonna behave a certain way. And you know, I feel like that upbringing always stayed with me. But when I left the house, I still had the peer pressure. You know, the guy around the corner selling the weed or whatever, and I got involved with it.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, how could you not? Because you're in the same neighborhood, and I love my mama to death, but I'm still a teenage boy.
Right.
You know, I want to kind of fit in and be cool. You know,
experiment.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what I did. And I started to get in trouble. You know, and if it wasn't for my mother, like I said, I don't know where I would be because I was pretty much trying to destroy my life.
Really? So was it a thing where you got involved in using drugs? Did you end up in jail? Like
all of it. Right? The whole nine. Like, you know, in high school, I'll give you a story. I'm a senior in high school, and you know, we smoking weed. I've been smoking weed since I was like 14, 15, and here I am, 16, 17 years old, and we smoking weed. And me and this one guy, now he had got off in the gangs, so me and him, we up at the school, we breaking in the lockers in the school, so we can get us some weed. But do you know, my football coach? I played football in high school. I played a lot of football, a lot of sports growing up. Football coaches in the back of the locker room watching us. And little do we know, when we left that locker room, they called the police on us. And I'm a senior in high school and getting ready to graduate. They expelled me from school. And I got like maybe another semester. But my mom and dad went up to the school and spoke to the principals or whatever. And what they decided was they were going to let me go to another school to graduate. So I spent 3 years at this whole school, you know, on my side of town with all my friends, a semester away from graduating, and almost got kicked out of school. If it wasn't for my mom and dad being together and going up there and speaking, you know, with the faculty, I might have left school without a high school diploma.
Right.
After all them years of going to school, and who's to know what my fate might have been had I got kicked out of school.
Right. And this is mistakes that, you know, I'm gonna say all of us make, but a lot of people, a lot of teenagers make. You know what I mean? And sometimes you could come from a good home and still get in trouble.
It's a lot of kids.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. It's the environment.
Right.
We grew up in an environment where it's moving so fast, and you know, as African American men, you got split decisions to make on a daily basis.
Right.
That can change your life for the better or for the worse.
Absolutely.
So I tell people all the time, I'm so grateful. Like I have in my home, I have a desk with all my mother's pictures, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, everybody just passed on, sitting up in my living room. And some mornings I just look at that desk and just realize just how blessed I am to have had those people in my life
Right.
to push me along.
So when you say it was the worst town in America, I need you to give me a little bit.
It's the worst town now.
It's the worst town now, but it wasn't the worst town
Not
then.
then.
Oh,
When we were
okay.
growing up because we had jobs available.
Oh, okay.
So when the factory started closing, people went to the streets.
Right.
So you got to remember, I'm a '60s baby.
Mm-hmm.
So my 20s were the '80s.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the crack era.
Mm-hmm. My 20s was 8. Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm born in '67. So 1988, I'm 21.
Right.
So I'm heavy in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends, I'm talking about all of them. Everybody that were good kids in high school. Well, let me go back. I joined the military out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I got lucky. I graduated high school, joined the military right away. Spent 3 years overseas in England, and when I came home, everybody was heavy in the dope game.
Really?
Everyone.
Using and selling?
Use and selling. I'm talking about all these good kids from these decent families. Everybody's either using drugs or selling. And here I am, new on the block, just coming home, and I jumped right in because these were my friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking it was okay.
Mm-hmm. So then all you did was smoke weed, or was it a little bit
Up
deeper?
until when I came back,
Mm-hmm.
all I had done was smoke weed.
Mm-hmm. And when you came back?
Oh, I was heavy. I tried cocaine. I mean, we had it. All my friends had it.
Mm-hmm.
We were selling it. Now, don't get me wrong. They was doing heroin, so they was doing like some people were doing heroin. So it was
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. But
right.
for some reason, I didn't get involved in heroin.
Mm-hmm.
But I did use cocaine. I did sell cocaine for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and
you was using and selling.
I was using and selling. But see what people don't realize, I think when you're using, at some point, if you don't have the mentality where you're just gonna sell,
mm-hmm.
you're gonna wind up using. You're gonna wind up using your drug.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know so many of the people that I grew up with wind up using the drugs.
Right.
And with me being in my 50s now, do you know a lot of those guys are gone? One guy died. He had a heart attack like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm sure he was probably still using in his 50s. Like, eventually those lifestyles catch up with you.
Oh, absolutely. And so how long have you been clean?
Probably about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It just reached a point where I saw where my life was going,
Mm-hmm.
and I owed my mother and my grandmother, I owed my people so much more that I just decided I was just going to do my doggone best.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you get clean? Did you have to go to rehab, or did you go to prison?
I went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
I wound up going to jail. Went to jail for a while, and I was sitting in jail one day in the day room, and wasn't nothing going on. We just a bunch of guys in one room. We just sitting around. And I looked out the glass, and I said, you're not doing your best. This is what I said to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're not doing your best, and if you don't do your best, this is where you're gonna wind up at. This is where you're gonna be. And I got a lot of friends in Racine.
Wait a minute. You were already in prison.
In jail.
I mean, in jail. What's the difference between prison and jail?
Well, prison is where I got a lot of friends in prison that been there 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's prison.
Mm-hmm.
Now, jail is just where I've done little stints, like maybe 2-3 month stints,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get out or whatever. But prison is where I got some friends. One
They've
dude
been
in jail like 40 years.
Wow. So can you tell us? So how long did you serve in jail? Now,
Well, I did a couple stints.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in trouble for like a lot of little like disorderly conducts.
Mm-hmm.
So small crimes, misdemeanor crimes,
Mm-hmm.
where they might give you 30 days in jail.
And so when did it register to you to say, hey, you know what, enough is enough. Let me get myself together because I do not want to keep coming back here.
Well, my mother was sick.
Mm-hmm.
My mother had Alzheimer's. She died from Alzheimer's last year, so this May will be a year.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
So no, she was sick, and my dad needed help. We were all trying to chip in to help my mother because it was towards the end. It's like we had to change her, bathe her,
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like I owed her more, than to be sitting in jail. And then I didn't want to be in jail and have her die and not be able to go to the funeral.
Right.
I think that would have just tore me up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just decided I was going
to have to live with something like that for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because of some choices that I made.
Mm.
Some people weren't gonna let me go to her funeral.
Right.
It wouldn't matter, what I felt like they were not gonna let me go if I was sitting in jail. I've seen a lot of people that couldn't go to their mom's funeral.
Yeah. And so when you were released, this last time you were released, and you knew that you wanted to make a change, did you have any kind of um, trade under your belt, like because you were in the military, right?
Yeah.
So when you came home and now you have a record, how did you transform your life into, back into the work world? Like, how did you do that? Your body is more than just a body. It's where you live. It's your temple. Introducing the My Body is My Temple t-shirt collection, where confidence meets consciousness. Whether you love the bold, playful energy of vintage inspired icons, or you're just stepping into your own self love journey, these teas are designed to remind you how you treat yourself matters. From statement styles featuring that classic confident flair to empowering everyday wear. Visit mslimerch.com and I'm sure that you will see something that fits your style and that reminds you that your body is your temple. Stand out from the crowd. How did you transform your life into, back into the work world? Like, how did you do that?
Well, even through like all my struggles, I've always had I've always worked. So, my resume shows always working, and I'm good at customer service. So now I do events for a living. That's my thing. Like since I've been here, I've been in Dallas like 2 years, and I do nothing but events. I work for the Cowboys out of the stadium. I do conferences around Dallas and I was in Fort Worth last week for a conference.
What kind of conference?
It was the Texas Apartment Association's conference and expo. So they had that in Fort Worth. So there's always conferences in Dallas. I don't think people realize because the weather's so nice, and so people bring their conferences, I'm talking for major companies, bring their conferences to Texas.
So do you sit in on the conferences, or are you there like working the event?
I'm working the event. So when the people come for the conference, they have to register, have to check in. So I might be doing registration where I'm checking these people in, giving them their badges for the conference,
right?
And then, or I might be somebody at a room for one of their expos where they're talking about whatever the conference is about.
Right.
I might be a room monitor for that, making sure people are checking into the room or whatever. So it just depends on whatever
what
job I'm assigned. Yeah.
Right. And so you work for a company that assigns you to this, or
No.
is this your own company?
It's me. I'm really? Contract myself out.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to talk about this.
Yeah. So it's wonderful. What I'm doing is wonderful. But like I said, if you'd have told me this back when I was growing up, that this is where I would wind up after seeing so many of my friends pass away, get incarcerated for major years. Within the last 3 years, I've lost 10 friends. My age.
All back in Racine?
All back in Racine, gone. 10 friends.
And so how did you get into the event thing? Or not even just that, but just the mindset of an entrepreneur? Because most of my associates are entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And it's not easy, you know what I mean? But you have to keep going. So how did you get to be successful like you are?
Well, I started, I've been doing the event thing. I started back in 2008. I used to work for the Milwaukee Bucks basketball team back home in Wisconsin. It was probably the best thing I could have done. When I got that job, it showed me so much, and they actually pushed me out in front of people and said, "Okay, this is what we want from you. Go do it." And I'd never been in front of people, 10,000, 15,000 people at a basketball game.
But push you out, when you say push you out, means speaking?
Well, so we did things during timeouts and halftime of games. So, like, say they had a skit going on where I'd have to be in a costume or something like that. So I put the costume on and go out there. Like during a close game, we'd have to run flags. So, so the team's name would be on flags. So you have 5, 6 people with a flag, and you have to run out in front of 15,000 people with these flags, run around the court, and then run back off. And I never.
Wait, the first time you did it, you were a little shy. Then you got used to it.
Yeah. I've never done this before in front of 10,000 people, and I made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
I remember one time they sent me out. It was a really close game, and so we had 3 people go out with signs. So one person had a go sign, one person had a buck sign, and I had another go sign. So we would point up to the crowd. One guy would have the go, and the crowd would yell go. And the other guy would do his buck sign. He would do bucks, and they would yell out bucks. And I had a go sign. Do you know I had the go sign backwards facing me? in front of 15,000 people,
Right, right.
and I couldn't believe I made that mistake.
But that's how we learn, right? That's how we learn
Exactly.
from our mistakes.
And so for a week after that, I couldn't believe. I was like, you're an idiot, right? You're in front of all the people making all these mistakes.
Mm,
But it gave me so much confidence. It made me realize that it's okay to make mistakes.
right.
It's okay.
Absolutely.
It was okay. So now, when I'm doing things, IMC events now, so I can get up in front of 15,000 people and make a fool out of myself
Really.
and not feel any type of way about it, not care how they feel about how I feel.
Absolutely.
Because I feel a certain way about it.
Right. And when you get to the point that you do not care what other people around you think, you are free. You free yourself to be yourself. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
You free yourself to be
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that is very positive. And
You know, Racine was a hard place to grow up at towards the end. And I decided that I needed to change once my mother passed away.
mhm.
So
And what year did your mom pass?
She passed away in 2025. So this May will be a year. It's only been a year
Wow.
that she passed
And so
away.
all that time, besides being in the military, you were back in
I was
Racine,
back in Racine.
Wisconsin, right? I never even heard of that.
Yeah, well, you ain't missing nothing. You ain't missing nothing.
And so once they closed the factories down, like what did they do with that space? Did they build other stuff or open other
Well, let me tell
companies?
remember I told you my grandmother worked in Rain Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Big, huge warehouse. It's a prison now. So that's what Wisconsin does with its space. It's an incarceration state.
Right.
It's an incarceration state.
Wow.
So I remember going to see my grandmother on her lunch breaks at, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And now that place is a prison. Right in the hood. So the little black boys ain't got to go far. They got a big, huge place for them with a warehouse.
And would you say that, okay, so you grew up in Racine. You know the environment pretty well. You decided to go in the military. Now, was this your decision, or did your parents encourage you? Because you had the father, you had the stepfather. Did they say, "Boy, you need to get out of this town before you"?
Yeah. Well, they didn't say that,
Mm-hmm,
but I think they had it in their head
mm-hmm.
because my mother actually she pushed me. Like, I remember when I went up to see the recruiter, and he offered me a job, and I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to just leave there. I still got little girlfriends, little girls I want to." I want to see before I, and I done graduated. I'm a little older now.
Mm.
And I remember coming home from seeing the recruiter. My mother made me mad when I got back. I needed her to come get me. And I guess she was cooking or something. She said, "Well, boy, you just going to have to wait." And it made me so mad. And so when I got home, I called the recruiter. I said, "You know what? I'm ready. I'll leave tomorrow. Whatever job you got, I'll leave tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. That's how I joined the
Really?
military. Yeah. Yep. And had she not, had my mother been like, "Oh, yeah, you can just stay here, and, I got you." I feel like she was pushing me out of the nest.
Mm-hmm.
And I know now what she was doing. But at that time, I was like, "Well, my mama don't want me around. You really ready to just get rid of me at 18 because I turned 18. You ready for me to go?" It's the best thing she could have done was kick me out the nest so I can learn to fly on my own.
And a lot of boys don't understand that, because my son was the same way.
Yeah.
Like, he really didn't understand that we was trying to push him out the nest. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because at some point you have to grow up and be a man.
You have
know what I
to.
mean? And you had two dads. My son, he had a dad, but he wasn't really there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he didn't have that encouragement. So you went in the military. You said for 3 or 4 years.
3 years. I just want, moms, grandmothers, uncles, like love these kids through, because it's okay. We just at that age where, but you want to try and love them where they're not making huge mistakes, but that they can't come back from.
Right.
Because that's what I'm seeing from the kids today. Like the mistakes they're making are just huge mistakes.
And you know what I tell my guests that come on here, and people that I coach, is that I always say everything has a root, and our parents went through things, you know what I mean, that we would never understand. When we hear little stories, I know my mother used to tell me little things that happened to her when she was younger. And sometimes that stuff spills over to the next generation. And so I feel like today's generation, like, even though I've raised my kids a certain way, once they get out into that street, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their girlfriends, their boyfriends start planting seeds in their head, and and they just start thinking different than when they were home.
Mhm.
So the kids today are so much different. I don't mean the young kids. I mean the kids. Do you have children?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm saying the kids that we raised.
Yeah.
Even though we raised them and we instilled mannerisms,
Mhm.
integrity and all that good stuff in them, and it eventually comes back around, but just like how you did, and just like I did.
Right.
When we go out, we test the world. We're gonna test the world.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the kids today, and now I'm talking about the younger kids, I just feel like the parenting is so much different than what we had. You know what I mean? We had the strap. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even though we had the strap, we still wouldn't
We did our thing, right? Could you imagine us not having a strap?
Woo.
I can't even imagine because the things that I kept from my mother, that I didn't want her to know about.
Right.
And when she found out, because somewhere or another, Racine was so small, she would find out. That would make me so mad. I'm like, who's telling my mom on me? She's like, yeah, I know you was over there on such and such side of town. I'd be like, how you know that?
But that's how the world was today. Like, we live in this apartment, like, people barely speak now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People barely, and I'm a very friendly person.
Yeah,
I speak to everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm gonna tell you, since I moved to Texas, I have really kind of pulled back from being that, because I find, for me, people in Texas, I'm just saying some of the people I met is not as friendly, but I do meet some friendly people here.
Okay.
So I don't want to say all Texas people are not friendly, but just the way the kids are growing up on this weed. This weed, there's a whole different kind of weed.
Yeah, it's all different
than when we was back in the day.
Yeah, it's all different. It's all different. And
so, like, how do you help the kids today?
Well, that's just it. Maybe it's getting our stories out there. And maybe one kid or two kids might listen to what you're saying. But I just feel like something's got to be done, because we're losing a generation of kids. And it's like, the mistakes they're making are so heavy and so hard. It's okay to make mistakes. Do little things, because I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't out there carrying guns, and I wasn't killing people, and I wasn't stealing cars and going on high speed chases, and I really feel like they think that is cool.
And then the mental illness now, it seems so what's the word? It seems so
prevalent, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Like, where is it coming from? Is it the weed, or is it the way they're growing up in their homes? Like, where is all of this mental illness coming from? And the boys too. Like, you have to really protect your boys, because little girls are not the only ones that are getting kidnapped.
No.
And trafficked.
No.
Because now the little boys are too.
No. These folks don't care.
Right.
They don't care. But once again, I feel like it comes back to the home. Like, you still have to, even though you might be facing an uphill battle, you still have to instill those things into your kids about morals and integrity. Because I really feel like when I decided to just get out the streets and leave it alone, my morals and integrity had to come back.
Right.
Certain things that I used to do, I just couldn't do those things anymore if I was really going to be the person I wanted to be.
Right.
You can't be on both sides of the fence. You got to pick or choose.
And these parents, you have to watch your kids. I was out in the store the other day, and this girl, she was so busy on her phone, and her little girl about 3 years old, just walking all around. You know what I mean? Like, ladies and gentlemen, when you have children, that's a gift that God gives to you to parent and raise that little blessing. That is a blessing to have children. And sometimes when we have children, it teaches us things about ourselves.
It does.
How many do you have?
I have 4 kids.
Wow.
But this life cycle thing, just relationships, period. They're learning experiences. Like with my mother, when she passed away last year, watching her age and pass away, I learned so much in that experience. In her death, that life couldn't teach you.
And so what did you learn?
Well, just to watch her finally expire, to have her last moment on this earth, it taught me that we have an expiration date. Absolutely. You don't really think that tomorrow could be your last day until you see somebody have their last day. So I saw that, and it just really lit a fire underneath me. Like, I'm in my 50s, and she died at 81. So what is that? 23 years? I just know how fast that last 58 went.
Right.
So I can imagine what this 23 gonna be.
Right.
So this is the fourth quarter for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm kicking names and taking butt. And it's like,
Kicking names and taking
well,
butt.
kicking names. I want to say kicking ass and taking names. That's what I want to say. So you might have answered that.
No, that's funny.
So,
You gotta make the people laugh a little bit.
So kicking ass and taking names is what I want to say.
Mm.
But I'm not taking no shorts.
Right, right.
You know, I'm not apologizing for being me. Like, that's what her death taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of people even realize that. Because when I behave the way I behave now, like I feel like people feel like I'm standoffish or, he's arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that this is my life. This is the last little bit of it. And I've lived that other 58, for other people, girlfriends, and to take care of my kids. And so this last little bit is my time.
Right.
And I'm not apologizing for that.
Right. And so how did you get into working out and everything? I can tell you work out.
Yeah. Well, that's always been so when I was in Racine, that was like my therapy.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going through all I was going through in Racine, the gym was my place. I would go to the gym and I'd be frustrated and I would go in there and I would spend hours in the gym and that was my therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of therapy, not only do I do the gym now, but I have a therapist through the VA. And that's also helped me to kind of deal with, the death of my mother and just, being in a new place.
Right.
And once upon a time I would have never told you that I had a therapist. I was in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I don't care.
And so what makes you tell me that?
Because I feel like a lot of people need therapy.
Mm-hmm. Because you want to be yourself.
Yeah, right. And
Mm-hmm.
therapy helps you do that because you can actually talk to somebody, that's a licensed therapist, and you can share with them things, and they actually give you good feedback.
Right.
Like I've had good feedback from my therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like there's so many people out here that need therapy.
I need it.
Right? But life will do that to you. Life
Mm-hmm.
will scar you.
Right.
And not even on purpose or nothing. It's just the way life
it happens.
is.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I always say nobody's perfect.
No.
You know what I mean? You have to accept the fact that you are not perfect. And at the same time, and accept the fact that you're not perfect is start empowering yourself by learning about yourself and adjusting what needs to be adjusted.
Yes.
Right.
And that's what therapy is doing for me.
Right. That's wonderful.
And it really is. I'm just in a good space. I'm in a really good space. And I kind of want to, I want to help other people, to realize that, you only got one life.
Right.
And the time is ticking on it.
Right.
Every day is ticking on it. So
if you ever want to do any kind of collaboration where we could come together and make that happen, I'm really open for it.
For sure.
I'm open for it right now. Like I'm still learning Texas myself.
Yeah.
And by me doing this, the Goldie Drake Show, I'm really starting to meet a lot of.
Yeah.
We've been here for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay,
and I'm just, I would say the beginning of this year, was it last year? Last year I really started branching out and meeting people. I want to start going to like meetup events and things like that.
Yeah.
I used to have a job that prevented me from doing that. You know what I mean? Because I'm a hairstylist.
Okay.
So every Thursday, it seemed like the events would always happen on Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday.
And I was at work, right? So
and that's why I couldn't do a Saturday because I'm booked.
Right,
My Saturdays are always booked.
Yeah.
So that's hard to explain to people. Like when they want to go out and do stuff, I'm like, well, I'm working this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
so do you work every weekend?
Every weekend. Yep, every weekend. So it's, the little girl I hang out with, she's like, you work. I'm like, but this is my thing. You knew this when you signed up.
Mm-hmm.
This is
the little girl or the woman.
Well, she's a woman, but
we can't be saying little girl.
No, she's a woman. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, she's an older woman. She's in her 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's like, you work every weekend. I'm like, this is what I do. This is my job, and I really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna deal with me, you're gonna have to deal with when we have to get together when I do have time.
Mm-hmm. And what time do the events usually close down? Like 9 or 10?
It just depends. Like my wine events, when I do a wine event, it's from 9 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gone. That Saturday's just gone.
So you host these wine events yourself?
Yeah, I host them. Yeah. So I work for a company called Wino out of Austin. And we do events all over Texas. So we do them in Houston, San Antonio, and we do them in the DFW area. And they're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You come out, the ladies come out, they like to drink. And I host wine. We do winery tours as well, where I take people on tours. They meet me here in Irving, get on the bus, and we take them down to Granbury, which is a nice little winery area. They got wineries down there. So yeah, I host these tours and the wine events, and it's a good time.
That might be something that you could have brought some wine here, and we could have, because I'm trying to take the Goldie Drake Show on a different level. I don't want to just always sit on the sofa and talk about.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like I want to start branching out and doing different things.
Okay.
So maybe you could come back, or you could tell me a date that you're having an event, and then I could bring my cameras and
See,
record.
that would be good. If you
Yeah.
could have come and done one of the tours and just got on the bus, then I'm sure the ladies would have loved that. Because it's normally me and about 40 women.
Really?
Oh my God, it's so great. And guys are like, "Oh, you mean 40 women?" I was like, "You trying to control 40 women for 7 hours after they've been drinking wine all day?" I got to get them back on the bus, and we got to go to the next winery. It's a lot of work. People think I'm just on there having fun with these.
You're not driving the bus.
No,
I'm just the host.
I'm just the host. So we got a bus driver, so I'm just pretty much making sure that they're off the bus where they're supposed to be, get back on the bus, because we got a time schedule. We got certain,
no men.
But that's just it. There's a few men, but when I got here, I'm like, man, these are great date events, and there's only a handful. There's only a handful of men on these buses. I'm just like, and the scenery in Texas, these wineries are beautiful. Like, you think, because we're in the Dallas DFW area, when you go outside of that area, east and west of Texas, beautiful. Just the prettiest views. I'm like, man, where are the dudes at? Where y'all?
Playmate for me. Are you singles?
Yeah. I'm like, why
we about to do a winery date. Yes.
Why y'all not taking these girls on these dates, man? I'm talking about just beautiful ranches. I've been to some of the prettiest places in Texas. And that's my old school mind showing like, man, this would be a great date.
And what does something like that cost?
You can get on a tour for like maybe, depending, you and another person, like maybe $100 a person. But you get lunch included in the tour, and you're hanging out at the winery, you're drinking, and the samples are part of the tour.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about that, because I'm trying to think how I could compensate for this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If I get the people to come, let's just stay in contact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, y'all, this is Brian Everton, right? His story is amazing, and we want to reach out to people, mothers, fathers, children, teenagers, and tell them, no matter where you come from, you can elevate your life, but you have to put the work in. Nothing comes easy. All right. Thank you for joining us. Brian, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I will see you on the next Goldie Drake show. Oh, wait a minute. That Brian, I give all my, a t-shirt. This is fresh off the press.
Ooh, look at that.
I made this especially for you because I know you work out.
Look at that, y'all.
My body is my temple. And this is my new line. My body is my temple line.
I'm gonna look real good in that too.
And so can
Thank you. Thank you for the gift. Thank you so much.
Very well. Thank you for coming. All right.
Good.